Whispers float in empty halls. Footsteps echo down the walls. Shadows break where secrets lie. Every echo holds a hidden sign. Blow the trace along the crime, a hush that haunts the night, a fear that lives in light. Unravel lines of twisted lies. In the dark, the story waits unseen.
And here we go.
Hi, I'm Rochelle, the Psychic Sleuth. Spirit shows me patterns across past, present, and future. What comes through can be symbolic, metaphoric, or not always literal, though sometimes it is. Messages often carry multiple meanings that weave together through energetic tracking, prophetic sequencing, and blueprint mapping. I know I talk fast sometimes, it's just how spirit flows through me. You can always replay or slow down if you need to. I triple check what I receive with astrology and cards, but this isn't about being 100% right. It's about truth, responsibility, and integrity. I'm the one sitting with spirit on these cases, so this is a space for truth seeking, not debate. Please respect the work. If you can't honor spirit, this may not be the place for you. And before we start, I want to make something clear. My process has evolved for a reason. I don't use sitters anymore. I don't do live channeling on heavy cases, and I won't be performing on command. That's not safe, it's not accurate, and it pulls the work off track. I work the way spirit directs me, through mediumship, pattern recognition, astrology validation, cards when needed, and prophetic sequencing. Every layer strengthens the message and protects the integrity of the case. Please don't tell me how to do my job. This isn't about entertainment. It's about truth, responsibility, and helping families. If my style isn't for you, that's okay. But this is how I work, and this is how the work stays accurate. If my work resonates, the best way to help is through community support for Justice's Cadaver Dog Training Fund. It doesn't take huge donations. Even the cost of a coffee adds up when many give. Shop new merch and help Justice on his mission. Links to my shop and donation page are pinned below. Every purchase helps fund the work. Thank you for being here. Now let's get on to today's case. The ball was just going off, and so I tried to push play fast enough to get it. The REM pods were going off, like the EMF spike, and the ball just went off, but I didn't get the camera going fast enough. So hopefully it'll go off again for you. All right, so this is going to be a little bit of a different video. It's going to be kind of a summary. I'm going to be kind of going over everything again. And I'm upset that I missed the ball. Really upset about that. Okay. Because it doesn't go off as much anymore. So that sucks. But you just have to trust me. It just went off. All right. So again, I'm going to do this a little differently. This is only psychic medium impressions. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty for entertainment purposes only. This is just my opinion. It's not factual. I'm not going to try to name any names anyways, even though you guys are going to know who I'm kind of talking about. And I wrote everything down. I'm just going to read it because I don't want to forget anything and all that. So I'm not going to shut up spirit either. They're just going to do their thing. They've been doing it till I got up and did this. So again, I'm doing another auto write at 12:46 a.m. It's now 2:47 because everything just clicked. But there are some refinements that I need to make. I think that I have a timeline, the clarity, and I'm going to use auto writing, astrology, cards that I've pulled, things like that to kind of explain it all. So, and EVPs. So you will need to listen closely to details. There are some things that I think I figured out that I couldn't make sense of before from my original mediumship and ping that I took as staging. There is staging, but it may not be as literal as I took it from spirit. This is not to be backtracking or changing anything. This is me refining and putting it all together, because sometimes we have to take a step back. Sometimes we have to refine. Sometimes we get different puzzle pieces and things click. So there's always going to be refinement in readings. Sometimes we have to look at all the readings, astrology, and evidence and what we've gathered. Sometimes we have to take a little bias out. That's what I've done. So is there staging? Yes, but not in the way that I originally thought. The video looked so performative that I thought that it must be pre-recorded. The Ocean's 11 that I received, I took it more literal than I think it was. In Ocean's 11, there's a pre-recording, so I thought that's what spirit meant, along with the bad acting at the door. It wasn't making sense to me. It wasn't clicking that actual kidnappers would act that way, and they actually wouldn't. I'll explain more of that And I'm about to tie everything together in a nice little bow with whatever else Spirit wants to give me. So I think the Ocean's 11 was more of a was more of the jammer that was used, as there was a jammer used in Ocean's 11 that I forgot to mention that part, I think. And I also think that it had to do with the misdirection. Things are not as they seemed. Things being different than they appeared. Staging happening. Those two things, or all of that together, were the whole reason behind Ocean's 11. Not necessarily that it was pre-recorded. I just perceived it that way. Remember that the way Spirit speaks, the way that things come in, it can easily be misperceived. That's why we keep pulling threads till they make sense. That's why we refine. Oftentimes in complicated cases like this, we have to continue working it, trying different methods to get different pieces of the puzzle till we understand. I also didn't understand originally why someone would need to be seen on the camera when they had a back door open that I felt was left open. That makes more sense now that I have sat with this. And when I came to this aha moment, the REM pod went off and it hasn't stopped till I sat down and wrote this all for you. And actually, it still hasn't stopped. I'm writing it so that I don't forget anything, and so that anything else that wants to come in can. This is my deepest channel. I'm also going to explain the astrology, how it fits, and what I think many people seem to be overlooking from the very limited understanding of astrology. This is all still going to align with a cover-up and not a kidnapping. Keep in mind that this is all alleged, only visions, not factual. I already said that, but I couldn't go to sleep, so I had to do this so I could get it out of my brain. So I still go with my first ping. I got the first inkling into this case, and that's what led me down the path to where I am now. February 2nd, at about 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, it was on alive. I was unaware of the details of the case, therefore the channel was clean. And yes, so the narrative hadn't been made yet. So that's always important that you do readings before there's a narrative, or at least you get a ping or something of that sort, because it helps keep your mind intact. It's very easy to run away with theories and things when there's narratives and stuff. That's why I struggle so much when there's such a loud narrative. And yes, I've told this every time I've put out a reading. For new people, I need to say it again, but also to remind you why I felt the way I felt since the beginning. I was asked about the case. I did not want to touch it. I knew that it was going to be way crazy obsessive, kind of like Idaho 4, in the sense that I was just like, I can't afford to right now because I was struggling. But Spirit had other plans. I was taken over in that moment by Spirit. The EMF spiked and I got really woozy and nauseous. Then out of nowhere, I was shown Nancy. Then I was shown a male below her. In mediumship, that's a son or like a son, from my understanding. I was then hit on the head. All I could really see was sand at that time, but that's when it stopped. I stated that I needed to go and check something, but I would probably do a reading and let people know what I had seen. I got off the live and asked Tracy if there was anyone like that. That led us to Tomato. I've heard someone say entities lie. No, they don't. You have a spirit team. You have mediumship. They don't lie. I have a good rapport with them. I have discernment. They use REM pod in helpful ways. They respond in the EVP in kind ways and intelligent ways. Can there be, and also accurate ways that align with readings? And can there be those that lead you astray? Yes, but I've never had that happen. It's called discernment. I've been doing mediumship for 13 years. It's hard to trust my first ping sometimes when the narrative is loud, but I'm always a work in progress. So I'm trusting that ping. And I was really unsure and on and off until now, because I couldn't really tie him to the 228 timeline in the kidnapping narrative. Now I think I can. The auto write I did before this, the TED Talk, the one that kind of says it, but you have to read between the lines or see that it's not completely laid out as clearly as I thought it was, is kind of just more puzzle pieces. There are some specific details and descriptions in that, but now I'm just tying everything together now that I've thought about it. So now it makes sense. Places that he was tied to, I got extremely nauseous. I had headaches at different areas that were tied to his energy. I never had anything affect me that way. So there had to be something there, because I wouldn't be affected otherwise. I was eager to find her, so I was trying to put puzzle pieces together to where she was. Now that hasn't changed. Every time I did cards, I saw similar things, but not exactly. Some may have been my thoughts, which is easy to do, but it was basically still the same scenario. In my channelings, Nancy never was home safe in bed. She was never okay, and I was shown this person as the perp in my mind's eye, not in a factual sense. I see bits and pieces, blurry, similar situations. It was hard to put the puzzle pieces together, but I think I have now. Using everything at my disposal, cards, spirit now bringing certain ones to my attention, astrology, visions, auto writes, and EVPs. Only the ones that match the readings. They also have said his name about 5 different times in 5 different ways. I took Red Tom as Mad Tom. That came in the EVP. So let me explain what I feel happened. I'm going to repeat myself a bit. I'm not going to go extremely as deep as I did in the TED Talk. You'll have to go watch that because I want this all in one video. As described in my channeling with Ted, Nancy had been going downhill for a bit. She had noticed it. She was having a harder time getting around a bit. They had showed me a heart monitor, so I don't know if things were a bit off or it's symbolic. I don't know why she's saying she was experiencing headaches and her mobility issues had gotten worse. I feel like she had noticed things going on with who. There were secrets she found out about, certain things. She wasn't a fan of the lifestyle, and I don't think that they were taking care of her as much as they were before. Again, the reference to August timeline last year kind of comes in as changes started happening. I think that someone can come across as kind but be dual-natured and deceiving. We never know what anybody is capable of. I feel like there was more going on behind the scenes than we know. I do feel like Nancy was going to amend or change her will or trust or whatever it was. I also get an affair that was going on at some point that has come in the cards. I feel that they have been giving her certain things, maybe pretending it was something else. The EVP had mentioned caltrate, and we had discussed maybe there was something put in her food or drink that night for whatever reason. I feel like there was gambling issues, money issues, and a darker belief system. To make a long story short, Nancy was putting her foot down. She was putting up boundaries in a lot of different ways. There was an offer, I'll take her home, no biggie. I do think the timeline is off a bit. I think it was earlier than stated, and I do think at some point that Nancy's nose was started dripping blood. That she wasn't feeling good, and I don't think he dropped her off in the garage. I think that she was taken to the door as always. I don't think he ever dropped her off in the garage. That may not be a habit. I could be wrong on that, but that's how it feels. That feels abnormal, and it's more like a timeline marker. It's the only true timeline marker we have. The garage door opening and closing. But I think things had already taken place. As stated in my other auto write, I feel like her nose was dripping a lot by the door, maybe aspiration from whatever she was giving or what was going on in her body. I always try to see a safe drop off, and I still see the original vision for the most part. The keys, so I don't know, these keep coming up. They're either symbolic or literal. I don't know if somebody left keys in the back door for someone. That could be possible, but I feel like I don't know if she was using them to get in her own door. Could be multiple meanings for that. Sometimes that happens. But I feel like she was at the sink with her bloody nose. I don't know if she had bloody noses a lot, and I'm wondering if this was not completely abnormal. I feel like he had followed her in acting like, I'm going to make sure you're okay, what's going on. Nancy was on blood thinners. So I think she was disoriented and dizzy. I think she was falling. Or I think there was a falling. I think that there was a hitting of the head, and I did see her crawling. I also got a reference to strangulation and suffocation. Now, I saw someone say that the pacemaker would try to restart her heart. If someone passes away in this way, it's not going to bring them back to life. When they're brain dead, they've died of something, of a stroke or something like that, that's not going to happen. And a pacemaker can't continue to go on for hours. I know this timestamp is being ignored. The thing is, everything happened later to cover this timestamp, in my opinion. Because again, the first time I saw those visions in my auto write, they were vivid. I couldn't change them. I was told by Tracy after that there was blood in the kitchen. I don't know if that's true, but that's to her knowledge. Now, there are a couple reasons why I believe this vision, why I trust it. Not only my first ping, but also the meds were not taken at 10. I'm guessing she had a pill thing that showed what meds were taken and when. I'm sure it was on the counter. I'm sure she had a reminder. I'm sure she would have not forgotten 15 minutes after coming home when they are needed for her conditions. Nancy didn't forget to take those meds. She couldn't. And everyone keeps ignoring that. That's a bit frustrating. If that's true, that they weren't taken. Now we have the astrology. Something that I'm noticing is that the 7th house at 9:45 is active. It's the only time that it is active in all the timestamps. It's in fiery Aries, meaning this is an impulsive situation with the perp at this time. From my limited understanding of astrology, I'm not an astrologist. Oh, the ball is going off. I don't know if Justice did that or not. And the timestamp, Aries makes direct, active, initiating. Something happens, not passive. Sierras is care, routine, and protection dependency. And Aries is disrupted care, something tied to routine being interrupted. Someone who is supposed to be safe in the moment. Immediate interaction and energy. Chiron in the 7th is a wound, harm, rupture, vulnerability, turning point, moment. The interaction leads to something that breaks, shifts, or causes harm. Something goes wrong between two people. Neptune in the 7th, confusion, distortion, not seeing clearly. Something is off, not what it appears. The 7th house is the perp house, the interaction. This is the moment of who she's with, who she's engaging with, what's happening between two people. With Aries, it's direct, immediate, action oriented. With Neptune here, it adds confusion in the interaction, not fully clear what's happening, distortion, misperception, something not being what it seems. In Aries specifically, you have action when you have the Neptune there. You have confusion and action at the same time. So basically, it's a direct interaction occurs in Aries, but it's not clear or fully transparent with Neptune there. Something goes wrong or shifts with Chiron there, and it involves the dynamic of care routine being disrupted. Ceres. What this feels like in real life starts normal or expected. Something feels off underneath. Situation shifts quickly. Confusion or misdirection present, and the outcome is not what it should have been. You get the picture. This isn't the only time that the 7th house is highly active, and I believe Saturn is there in the earlier time frame, adding an older authority figure. Also, his asteroid is tied to the true node, and it's conjunct, and I go into that a little bit later, meaning that he's tied to her fate. So this validates what happened that I saw. This validates the timestamps for me through astrology. Later, there are no other 7th house active, meaning there's no new perp. Or not a new perp. Instead, it's just a continuation of what has already occurred at the 9:45 timestamp. Now it seems that many people are missing this. Also, there are no 12th house indicators to show kidnapping. It's completely empty, and no captivity, no anything important in the 9th house to show long distance or foreign groups. And again, no Mars-Pluto aspects to or for force or coercion, or an active 7th house to support a new perp. If there was even a failed kidnapping, it would still show those indicators, and it doesn't. For an active kidnapping, or even a failed one, you would see multiples of these working together, and they aren't in any of the charts. The only time we have any active perp is at 9:45 in whole sign eyes. What I use, I could understand it better in this case. The 2nd house isn't even active. And in the 2nd house in forensic astrology is tied to possessions, ownership, value systems, not actions. It's not used to talk about kidnapping, but more of what was taken in the form of possessions. It doesn't represent abduction, being taken physically, or movement of a person in confinement. I see astrologers looking at the 2nd house and saying, oh, 2nd house implicitus, because when you use different house systems, it shifts a little bit. Possession and Pluto. Intensity and control, but that's kind of a symbolic leap. Pluto in the 2nd actually means intense values, control issues around resources, power dynamics around money or ownership. It can show psychological or value-based intensity, but not physical removal of a person. So I think that people are running with the narrative instead of reading what the chart is actually showing. It helps that my info came before the narrative, and I think that is why, and why I've been so persistent on no kidnapping. And Tracy had heard the blood was old. If we go by the bloody nose at 9:45, that jives. It's not happening at 2, and it's also dried. But in Nancy's charts, there are no strong 12th house, no continued 7th house, no clear 9th displacement. You can't read one placement and stop there. From my limited understanding of astrology, this is how I understand it. There has to be multiple indicators of that, and there's just not. And I do think, again, that she confronted him with something, and he got upset. Allegedly. But this is why I feel... I pulled the card dual phases, meaning 2 phases to 1 crime. So you have the earlier thing and then the later thing. This also jives with only timeline where the purpose is active. Now, he couldn't just leave her there or take her out of the house because of what happened. He was the last one that seen with her. They had to change things up. But this is why it feels like something happened at 9:45. That's my original ping. I don't feel she was safe in bed. We have no proof of that I'm aware of. There's no camera through the garage. Did he ever drop her off there before? Could somebody with these issues, mobility issues, get in a couple minutes? I know my mom couldn't, depending. And why wouldn't you want to make sure she got in okay in the dark? I mean, I don't know. To me, I guess you could, but we just have no proof of it, in my opinion. And then her meds weren't taken at 10. So that's what I keep telling myself. And I also tell myself, why would there be blood drops so concentrated at the front of the door? It's not like she opened the door for anybody. Would she be bleeding and then just walk out? She had really bad mobility issues. That doesn't make sense either. She's gonna have a bad back, a bad leg. They didn't take her medication. They didn't take her shoes or anything. I don't think. They aren't gonna just walk her. And why would she bleed at the front door for no reason? She's an 84-year-old woman. They're not gonna hit her and then make her walk. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Because, see, I go through what makes sense and what doesn't. I try to factually make it, make sense. So, the opening and closing of the garage door was to set the timeline. The door was left open for later, and certain things were cleaned up, put back together. The blood was left because it looks better, and I think he took something that no one else is aware that Nancy had. It was probably hidden cash. If cops don't know what to look for, then they can't say it was taken. Also, I do think to cause this, again, Nancy confronted him and there was an arrangement. I also feel like she wasn't going fast enough for his needs, allegedly. So then there was this, I've been stuck for months. I couldn't tie this timeline to the rest, but I think I did tonight. And I was just thinking the video was just too ridiculous to be an actual kidnapping. It looked fake in the beginning, and the Ocean's 11 misinterpretation as to what Spirit was trying to say, I was a bit confused. I leave my videos up, they're right or wrong or confusing, to show the process. It's not one-step process. The meaning of Ocean's 11 was to show a planned group misdirection staging in the jammer. Plus, all quit ignoring that she didn't take her meds that night before bed, if that's true. And if the bed sheets or blankets were taken, if that's true, I saw that before. So if that's true, that aligns. And these are just rumors, so I don't know how accurate they are. But why would... Remember, I saw her wrapped up and I heard tape, but why would you take blankets if you're kidnapping someone? Remember, this had to be someone very familiar with her house routine, where the cameras were, etc. And why wouldn't you take her meds to survive? Her shoes, anything, if it's a real kidnapping? Because it's not, and I stand by this. And they want you to believe that. And I've even had a problem with that narrative. Now, these cards make sense that I pull every time together, and I pulled them again yesterday. The pack card of 3... I feel 2 males and a woman, then the cult. So they're connected to the group that he was a part of, that cult-like group. This group seems like they connect through sex, dark arts, and pain. So maybe it's people that he paid to help him with this. There was plenty of time to get something together somehow. There was already a plan in place at some point, then that's why. Also, what was getting me is of this night of all nights, the night that she was at their house. Like, no other night, just this night. I realize it's a Saturday night, but I don't know. It just feels weird. I also feel like, again, there was something else that happened at the birthday. Birthday came in EVP. I think it validates that. But that's why the pack and the cult always comes in. I couldn't figure that out before, but I feel that it's the pack card is the 3 and that they are part of the cult or group or sex group or whatever it's called or considered. I'm going to pull the cult card because it's a group, but we have to remember, like, again, I pull those cards every single time. So I feel like T needed money, they needed money, and there was heavy secrets that were getting exposed. I feel the woman was the driver, and you have 2 males. One thing I can't tell is if T was one of them or they were just helping him for the right amount, which they could have been because he needed his alibi. But the woman seems to be older, blonde, and I get stringy hair. She may sort of have kind of a raspy voice. That's how I see her. I keep seeing a truck. I don't know if there's multiple vehicles. Like I'm just getting the vehicles that they have, or I don't know, but it could be an SUV that sounds like one, but it's like she gets, and it might not even be that loud. It might just be to tell me, like, it's a bigger vehicle. But like she's down the street or in a driveway of a house that isn't occupied. Maybe the one that's for sale across the street. They entered through the back that was left open. One was rounding up while the other went to the front to disable the camera. Now, they wanted to disable it in this way. They needed to be seen. If they weren't seen, they can't act. That's why they're all covered up too. So they can't show you the gun that doesn't match the holster or be used with the gloves. They probably doesn't even have bullets in it. It was just a prop. And this isn't, an act. That's why it kind of looks, I don't know. It just looks a little off. The narrative is just painted so that everyone knows, hey, she was kidnapped. So they think you think they could have just like reached around and took it right off the front door, like from the inside. But I still stand by that they needed to be seen. You can't make it look like a kidnapping by some organized group if they aren't seen. So that's why the whole kind of goofy moving, let me grab a plant. I think that's why plants came in the EVP, by the way, just a validation. He ended up taking it off anyways. They had to carry her body out the front to the vehicle and that drove to the door. Almost. It could be seen on camera. So they didn't take her out the back. It's too complicated terrain. But they entered in the back and maybe even parked in the spot in the beginning, like when they dropped off the guys. They either parked next neighbors or above. This is where I'm kind of getting confused because I keep getting like possibly I don't know. I keep being drawn to the neighbor's house because I feel it's significant, but I also and they could have pulled in that driveway for a period of time or something, but I also kind of get like maybe I didn't notice this until today, and I actually got this last night, like the road above, because it doesn't really look like that when I drove it and maybe walked down. So I think they entered in the back so they weren't going to be seen while the jammer's being used, so there's no cameras. And if one of the guys has been in like burglary robberies or whatever, he already had like a jammer. Like there's some reason that they had this. So so they could have already had it or knew a way to get the specific equipment that they needed. I still think the house is significant because it's for sale, it's vacant, etc. Now, it took 2 to carry her out, place her in the vehicle, forgetting the meds and the other things she needed because, well, they weren't needed anymore. This goes along with my staging cards, my cover-up cards. Things are not as they seem cards. And earlier, I pulled authority figure twice. I've pulled family foul play, drugging, OD, poisoning. This goes along with my earlier visions, and I pulled the pack and cult together, giving you the timeline in the cards for my earlier video. Something happened with a family member. There was foul play, allegedly. Then the pack comes in, the cult. Then the pack comes in from the cult, and not everything is as it seems. So with your first ping, Rochelle, there are dual phases. This would take 2 phases again. The astrology shows more of movement containment at this stage, not a new perp, but a continuation of the same crime. So the people involved, I feel, are tied. to the nightlife underground cult with tats, sexual pain. I mentioned a few tats, and there was something with vines of sword stars. That's why people claim that they see a tattoo, because there is one. Also, it feels like there could be someone that's lighter, maybe ethnic. I was also seeing a blue vehicle at some point with like the sparklies. I don't know whose that is. Now I'm coughing all of a sudden. You can go back to some of the names that I pulled. I do keep getting David, and now I'm getting Chris. I'm wondering about Alinda, since that keeps repeating in the EVP, but they need to look into people there. Quit looking at a faraway place, cartel, Epstein. It's not any of that. It's made to look like that. There is a loyalty here, but also some may have records, can't get caught doing something, not gonna tell on someone, and they might have gotten paid and will get paid more later. I don't know. But I know, because it's like, you don't really want to involve anybody that you can't trust. But at the same time, if you have something on them, or if they can't afford to get caught, but they decide to do it because they're desperate or they're loyal, whatever. Why do people do what they do? Some will never know, right? So I'm getting one may have a burglar robbery charge. The darker hair, it can be wavy or spiked. Also, white or Italian kind of look. I don't know. There's also one that's balding or bald element. And I don't know if that's who, like T, or if that's somebody else. According to my visions and the astrology from the standpoint, it might be someone else, because we already know about. They wouldn't describe him to me if we already know, right? Allegedly. So, from my standpoint, the astrology agrees that something happened earlier and was covered up later by a kidnapping narrative. That's the only way I can make sense of it all. The cards have been specific to pointing towards certain people. There are lines and connections. Follow the people that are connected in the dark. They would be secret connections, not on the open connections. I was getting like Wiccan symbol, the 5-pointed star, so they align with that group. The darker arts, though, in a way that is portrayed. Darker underbelly, sex, drugs, rock and roll. There may be a musical element, because I get music and instruments a lot. So someone connected through the music or DJ. And Derek is connected, allegedly. He ran in the same circles to connect them. And I say, yeah, I saw the case and I'm asking for this. No, it was more of like a demand, like you owe me. It would be different if he didn't run the same circles, but he was DJing in the same circles, so he knows more. But the blood was not from being carried out, in my opinion, or even walking out. That would have been caught by the blankets. That's the point. Also, the EVP jives was she had a bloody nose. And I don't think it was a bloody nose on the way out. I guess it could have been. But the thing I'm having a hard time with is every time this is where I spiral, right? And I'm like, well, maybe they came in and like walked her out and she had a bloody nose at the door. But that doesn't make sense. All of a sudden her nose is going to start bleeding at the door. And wouldn't it bleed more walking out the door instead of less? Like, if bloody nose is kind of starting, I don't know. It doesn't make sense for her to bleed less going down the walkway than more. It's like everything is concentrated on the right side of the door, like when you go into a door, not when you're coming out of a door. It's not stepped in, it's not any of that. So if she came home with a bloody nose and she walked around it or was careful and it didn't get walked through, okay. But I can't see them carrying out. They would have walked through the blood. I guess they could have walked around it if she had a bloody nose right then. But it's not making sense why all of a sudden she would just have a bloody nose at that specific time, no other time. And again, if their blankets were missing, if the 10 o'clock meds weren't taken, this is why I keep going back to 9:45 and the fact that the astrology points to an active perp house there, and that's the only time. So that's why. And then again, I've been told in the channeling that they gave me the pack of crows, which is considered a murder. And I've gotten the cover-up cards. I've got the staging cards. So there's no kidnapping elements. Even if it was they tried to kidnap her and they didn't succeed, it would still show in the chart as that. And it's not. Allegedly. That's from my understanding. And also the secret and fighting that came in the EVPs. That validates my readings. She fought back. That validates my readings. So, okay. So we're looking for 2 males and a woman that are tied to him. And the woman may be tied to one of the males. They may be younger. I got 35 yesterday. I don't know if that's an age. One may do labor work or something of that sort. May have knowledge of the community and area. There's someone that wears like a chain into his pocket. I keep seeing that. He may wear a lot of black or black jeans. The things that were worn on camera weren't traceable. If the weapon was new or traceable, they wouldn't have shown it on camera to pull kidnapping angle. So there would be someone in construction or labor work or something of that type may work in the area, but he's still tied to the group. I'm thinking that Luke knows more, but he may not be directly involved. He seems scared to say the wrong thing and is overly nervous. There's an interesting shoulder tat. It could have a tiger, but I can't see a full picture, but I know that it's unique, noticeable when it can be seen. Calf as well. Getting the word polyamorous, so I don't know if that's the group or they tie to who. And getting the name Jeff. Keep in mind the names can be connections. They might not even fit this case, but there's red strings that connect to people. That's how it works. We follow the connections. It seems one has darker features, but there's an element of lighter, like one with lighter features. So maybe one is bald or balding with blue or light eyes, and then the guy with darker eyes and darker hair that is that can wear it like wavy or spiky, because I get both ways. Or maybe like he used to wear it one way and now he wears it another. I don't know. I do keep getting an A, but I can't make out the name. Basically, it all comes in as a cleanup and staging acting crew. And yes, this is risky, but if you have things to lose and are promised things, well then, and I thought maybe it's because he owed, but no, because he only purposed at 9:45, and I saw what I saw, and they couldn't get it from him that way. It wasn't even sent to Savannah. It was sent to TMZ. Obviously, the ransom note are fake and were fake. Again, to take the narrative far away to group to Mexico to the kidnapping that never happened. Things are made to look confusing. The chart literally talks about that. I'm typing this up at 2:12. That's interesting. But let me say that the EVP wouldn't stop until I got up and did this. The chart shows a situation where perception is distorted, the truth is obscured, and collective narratives are rapidly forming that may not reflect what actually happened. The Neptune in Aries is illusion, distortion, confusion, misinterpretation, causing actions to be misread or masked. What people think they are seeing versus what is actually happening. Chiron in Aries is distortion through perception, misjudgment, and with Neptune, it causes misreading of a person or interaction. Pisces in the 4th house with the Saturn and the node and asteroids is fog, hidden, unclear in the 4th. That's the end outcome. The final situation is obscured or hard to see clearly. With Saturn, it's contained, hidden, and controlled. The Aquarius stellium is about collective, internet, mass perception, and group thinking. Mercury here is information spreading fast. Pluto here is intense, obsessive focus. People are running with theories, amplifying ideas, and feeding off each other. Sound familiar? The moon in Leo in the 9th house. Moon is public emotion. Leo is drama, visibility. And the 9th is big narratives, distance, and larger story. The public is creating big, dramatic, far-reaching theories. Sound familiar? So this chart literally explains why the narrative is so damn chaotic. From my feelings of being out there, I started farther and pulled the energy in. Every time I go too far, I feel like I was leaving her. The cards yesterday aligned with the chart and feelings. I pulled private property under construction or renovation in the community or close and by utility or shed. You would have to see the other reading. But if I remember, I was also seeing brick style, I think, a reference to a pool. I don't know if it's a new one or an old one. And a shed or utility area. You'd have to lift something up to get to where she is, and it's in the back. It would be a property that's accessible. It was picked ahead of time by someone who knows the area and the community. The for sale sign could be that it's going up to be up for sale or is, and there was a gray house in reference, so it may be buy it. I feel it had been searched, or at least been by, and they need to circle back. Like my dream, she was missed or walked around or over. One interesting aspect in the chart, the 228 chart, is Jupiter's retrograde in the 8th in Cancer. That's a hidden situation, something not expanding outward. Internal concealed. This is not something openly unfolding, it's contained. By the 228 chart together, the main interaction or event has already happened, and now we're in contained private environment. There's confusion, distortion in actions. Activity is happening, but it's not clean or obvious. The emotional narrative layer does not reflect the full truth. Something already occurred earlier. Now the situation is contained within a private space with unclear or distorted actions and movement that doesn't fully match what is later seen or assumed. The 4th house, Saturn, known his asteroid, is the strongest location anchor. We have home, property, land, foundation, private space. Saturn here is contained, enclosed, restricted, not visible. Pisces influence is hidden, unclear, not obvious, possibly below level or obscured. A private property space is contained, not visible, and not openly accessible. The 6th house, Uranus, later shifts the routine space, functional area, not decorative. This adds a practical utility type area within the property. And I did literally pull that card. Examples are service areas, back areas, functional zones, sheds, pool houses, things like that. A 3rd house, Aquarius stellium. This is not a location by itself, but it adds movement, nearby, local, not far distance, and activity around the area. So this is close range, not transported far. You have the Aries influence, Saturn in Aries. This adds disturbance, physical action, and something altered, worked on. This supports an area that has been disturbed, worked, or altered, not untouched ground. You're looking for a private residential type property with contained or hidden area that is functional, not living space, possibly disturbed or altered, and not openly visible. Also, what I want to mention is the true node in his asteroid are conjunct the 5th house, or conjunct in the 5th with Saturn in the 4th. True node and his asteroid is a strong connection of unfaded involvement. This person matters to the situation. In the 5th, it's behavior, actions, and what was done. Saturn in the 4th, outcome tied to property, containment, restriction, and private space. So this means his action in the 5th were tied directly to the situation that ends in containment within a private property containment. The final breakdown of the 945 interaction with that person. 212 disruption, things become abnormal. 228 contained situation within a property. Aftermath environment, not a new perpetrator moment. And there is no new perpetrator after 945. Unless I'm totally misunderstanding the way astrology works. The chart shows containment, not arrival. So his asteroid and the true node in Pisces in the 4th house, it's a big, clear placement. You have the 4th house of home, private property, land, foundation, where something ends or is contained. You have Pisces, which is hidden, obscured, not visible, hard to see clearly, dissolved, or blended. You have the true node, which is a faded involvement, significant connection. This person is meant to be a part of the situation, and his asteroid is there conjunct it, like this in the chart. It ties him directly to that 4th house environment. He is directly tied to the situation that accumulates in a private, hidden, or not easily visible property related space. This is one of the strongest confirmations of involvement. In the 228 chart, you have the Aquarius stellium in the 3rd. So it's local, neighborhood, short distance, nearby movement. Aquarius is unusual, not obvious, different than expected. If there was movement, it's local and it's not far. So that's the 9th house projection that we're seeing with people saying, oh, she's far, she's in Mexico, she's here, she's there. That's not necessarily reality. What the chart is doing, the chart has a 3rd house. That's the actual range of local. There's a whole stellium there at 228. Movement, local. 4th house, where it ends, private property. 9th house, moon, how people interpret it, far, bigger story. So people are reading the story like it's far away, but the chart is anchoring it close. So we have, 0 to 3 miles is the strongest zone. Up to 5 is max. It's a stretch, but 5 miles over that is too far, so you want to pull back closer. I did feel west northwest. I've always have, but there's nothing in the chart that contradicts that. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be that direction, but that's always been the kind of, but also perpetrators that way. So I don't know. Zone 1. So the zone 1, 0 to 1 mile, that's your core. That's more than likely. Then you have that's the strongest energy match. Then zone 2 would be 1 to 3 miles. That's kind of secondary. That's still very valid. Zone 3, 3 to 5 miles, that's kind of a weak. You don't really want to go too far. If everything else fails beyond that, it's not supported by the chart. So we're looking for residential areas, private property, back areas, not front facing. Something not obvious, hidden, functional, or disturbed. If you want the water that we always get all the water cards, it's not going to be lakes. It's not going to be rivers. It's not going to be ponds. You think irrigation, pipes, tanks, underground systems, drainage, and moisture zones. Accessible, nearby, not obvious, not visible, part of a residential or community environment. Has a functional back utility type area. Areas behind homes, side yards, spaces not visible from the street, places people don't look twice, parts of the property that are used but not seen, house by house. I always say deep dark down. Like I always see her deep dark down. I don't see her laying out in the middle of anywhere. I just see her very well hidden. The EVP has said body hidden, bodies hid. I agree with that. Her hot body is hidden very well in a very difficult place. So I was going to do all the charts to show you, but I basically broke down the most important aspects. I can still do that if you guys want, but it all leads to the same thing. And it's been really, it's already been discussed. And from my understanding, I'm just learning astrology, but this case has taught me a lot. And this is just basic astrology, but I think that that is it for now. I don't know if I will do anything else on Nancy unless I get more on the perps or her location or whatever. I haven't gone back up there because of everything that was going on with the way I was feeling. It was super freaking hot, and if she's on private property, there's really nothing I can do. It's not like I'm gonna go. When I was up there, I didn't feel any specific thing anywhere, so I don't know. I might do that again. I'd have to do it before it gets really hot again, but it just financially and everything with me taking that time off, I don't know if I can. So I'm not sure unless I get all of a sudden this epitome or this dream or something that leads me to a specific place, everything has a time, place, karma, the way that it's supposed to work out. July does seem to highlight for something. I've done the best I can. I'm putting all the puzzle pieces together. It's been a crazy case. There are others that need help. I go where I'm called, and I work the case so there's not much left to pull from in the moment. We only get what we are meant to get in the same time frame. And I'm freaking exhausted from writing all this out. So I'm not going to get this out tonight, I don't think. But all the cards point to the same direction. EVP's astrology channeling. It just took me a bit to understand to get it. It's not easy as people think. You're trying to use your gifts, tools, pattern recognition, and all along have the pressure to not screw it up, not misperceive it, not misunderstand it. It's easy to do. The astrology and the timing does affect how clear things can be as well, just as a whole. And I think that I can rest my brain now, but no, if there's anything else that I can give, I will. I hope that the truth comes out soon, the betrayal is brought into the light, and Nancy is found. Please make sure that you guys on the way out if you haven't already. I have the AMF going. See? They got me up here to do this today. It all started when I thought of all this, so that's why I thought I was on the right track, because when I figured hey, maybe this is how it was done, because I couldn't quite put it all together in one fell swoop, then the EVP started going off once I thought about it. So I thought that was really interesting. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna probably edit this after I've had some rest and get it out. Schedule is completely open if anybody wants to schedule. It would help me out a lot. And any ways that you can support the channel, I appreciate you. So thank you. Till next time. Spirit says bye. Right, Spirit? Can't believe I missed that ball. That sucked. I think that it did go off earlier. I don't think that Justice set that off earlier. I think it might have went off. So as you can see, they're active. All right, appreciate you guys.